and welcome to Intimacy and Alchemy. Another episode. This is technically episode 5, and I am here with our beautiful host, Eve. Say hi, Eve.
Hey
Hey,
everybody,
everybody.
so good
So
to
good
be
to
here.
be here. Thank you, thank you,
Welcome
thank you
in.
all for tuning in. Today we are continuing on the homework that we had before. The part of the homework, we did our list the first week of things that we never want to experience in a relationship, and then we came back that second week and did the things that we always want to experience in a relationship. We burnt up the never list, and now we are taking the always list, and we are like taking full accountability for the ways in which we may or may not be a vibrational match for what we put on that always list. Okay, and so we're going to discuss some of the content that we've come over through the week, and just give you guys some information about, I know me personally, the things that I'm doing to become a vibrational match for the things that are on my list, or even, some of the things that I may think that I want, being like super honest and vulnerable and realistic with myself about why those things may not actually be ideal for me, and just making sure that the list that I have of things that I always want to experience in my relationship are authentic to me and aligned with the path that I am on here in this life. So Eva's gonna kick us off, and she's gonna tell us about this broadcast that she brought to our attention for us to discuss. So she's going to give you a summary of that, and then we're going to kick off into discussion. If you are watching the replay, drop us a comment. Let us know that you are here, especially if you're here live. Drop us a comment. Let us know that you are here, because if you don't comment, otherwise, we don't know you're here. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you for sharing that because you're right. If they do not say a comment, we do not know that they are here. It's not like on some of the other platforms that we go live on. So the formatting on YouTube is a little bit different. But at any rate, we were talking earlier, and I was watching. I think it's tonight's conversation, and there was a question that one of the ladies in the audience posed, which was, why does a man feel the need to step outside of his relationship when he knows that he has a good woman at home? And one of the guys said that it's nothing, of course, that she did wrong, but they've been together 10 years, and she's shown every trick in the book, and because she knows every trick in the book, it's not new, it's not exciting. Hi, Elizabeth. And because it's not new and because it's not exciting, that one person or these women that may catch his eye would be the reason that he just steps outside of the relationship. And the other lady, I believe her name is Keita Rose, said, well, what's the incentive for being a good girl? What's the incentive for us to be a good girl when we know that you're going to cheat on some level? And so, with that being said, because we knew that there's that possibility, again, what's the incentive? So, thank you guys for joining. We have quite a few people on here tonight. Let's see: Kristen, Hope, Bob, Tania, Sonic, Kendall. Happy birthday, Denny G, Elizabeth, Square, and yes, Elizabeth, you were our first comment. Um, Needless to say, with that being with that being said, it really does make you really want to think like, what is the incentive? So at this point, Sunshine, please take it away. Come off mute.
We have an interesting stream of comments here. If there's something that you really want to bring to our attention, if you have any questions about what we're saying, if you have anything that you want to add to the conversation, you're more than welcome to. Big bulk of these comments we're probably going to have to ignore. So it's not intentional if we don't get to what you say. Please feel free to post it again. But again, like I said, I'm grateful for the attention, right? Because attention is currency, and at the end of the day, the views we get paid for 'em. It is what it is. And the comments too. Thank you. So thank you very much for that. Um, but as she was saying, a lot of us have this experience. I think it's kind of synonymous for most women. If you do know people who have been in relationship for many years, either there has been some form of infidelity in the relationship at some point, and it's like no matter how good a woman is, no matter if she come home, cook, clean, do all the things that she's supposed to be doing, take care of her home, the man 9 chances out of 10 is still gonna go outside of the relationship, right? And so sometimes it is a little difficult to feel that your partner is worthy of you reserving yourself for them. I think is really what the problem is, right? When I think back to my marriage, I knew my husband was cheating on me, but the reason that I was faithful to him had nothing to do with him or that relationship. It had to do with my relationship with God, because I had convinced myself that I was going to tarnish my relationship with God if I didn't keep my marriage vows. Like, this was my one thing that I was like, oh, I can do. I have a clean slate to do this one thing right, right? I didn't wait until I was married to have sex. So I wasn't, I'm saying, a virgin, but I felt like, okay, this is my clean, fresh start or whatever. As long as, like, from this point, I don't fuck nobody but my husband, then I am free from sexual sin, and I got my golden ticket to get into heaven when it's time to go there or whatever. So my deciding to be faithful in my marriage, even though my husband wasn't faithful to me, had everything to do with this personal agenda that I had to manipulate God. So I was faithful to a T. My husband had several other partners throughout our relationship, probably more than I can count, more than I would even like to admit that I was aware of. But I was dedicated to that commitment and to that marriage because of my dedication to God, and that was my personal incentive or whatever. At this point, I don't know that I will ever be motivated to commit to a man in that way again. Not saying that I just can't help but cheat, because that's not even my personality. I have no problem with loyalty. I have no problem with being faithful, and I definitely have zero problems with being honest. You know what I'm saying, with my partner or whatever. It's just and I was talking to my mom about this because I was wondering whether or not, this is something that she experienced. Is this a pattern or something that I inherited? It's like no matter what, the men that I have been in connection with start to feel as if I am cheating on them. They start accusing me. I don't know if it's their guilty conscience, just like, because sometimes that's somebody's karma. Their karma is to believe that what they have done to others is happening to them. And it's nothing you can do to get in the way of somebody else's karma. When, you know what I'm saying, when they're dead set on believing something, you just kind of have to allow them to do it or whatever. So it's like, if I know I'm gonna be faced with that anyways, I might as well be doing whatever the fuck I want to do. You might as well be doing what the fuck you want to do, and then if we still want to be together, great. And that's just kind of where I'm at in my life and in my relationships. I think that idea that there's only one way to do relationships and it's only valuable if it's done that way, I have completely released that. Like, at this point, you don't have to call me. I don't have to have no title. I don't need none of that. Like, I just want to be in a happy, healthy connection with somebody. We can call it whatever you want to, and I want it to be unconditional. I don't want it to be, oh, I'm with this person, but I'm only gonna be with them if they do this, and it's like, I don't have those restrictions in my best relationships. My closest, most fulfilling relationships, I allow those people to show up as they are, exactly who they are, exactly however they want to show up, and I love them for how they show up. And so, why would I not bring that same energy into what's supposed to be like the core relationship, right? And that whole idea of the romantic relationship being the core relationship is what I'm discovering is actually my problem. But I'll go deeper into that later. Anything you want to add, Tammy?
Um, real well, we did get a comment that your audio is a little low, so they can't really hear you as much when you're not on mute. But needless to say, when you come closer, it's a little bit louder. All right. So let's push past um all of the tech issues and really kind of boil down to it. And I guess you're right, because I guess on some level, when we think about like um religious values, morals, things that we're taught, it's really, really hard to say that I can walk away from something, especially when I know that it's been ingrained in me. So a lot of the reasons why we deal with our relationships, the way we deal with our partners is not because we're just oh so dedicated, but we're taught to have this dedication, this undying dedication, as if it really brings you some reward or a medal at the end. And is that true? I remember during marriage, I remember us going to church and us hearing the same things about how we can't get divorced and how it's a sin. You have to stay with your husband. And I'm like, how could God be so cruel to say stuff like that, right? How could God be so cruel when you have a partner that's maybe abusive, or maybe there is infidelity, or this person is degrading or mentally emotionally abusing you? How could that be okay? How could that be something that God would say, stay with that until to that person kill you or destroy you or anything else? And then finally, me and my mom, we had this conversation, and she was like, "Baby, you just need to go." She said, "Sometimes that's what God is saying, like you need to go." And I know this is like not a religious thing, but just to kind of go back to all of the reasons why we stay in things past their expiration date. So when we think about being what a good girl is, like what kind of definition would that be? Somebody who cooks, somebody who cleans, somebody who serves their partner. What makes a good girl, or a wifey, or wife material? Like, is it the fact that you feel like you could just do whatever to this person and they're gonna be there? Is that what makes a good woman? A woman who's going to prove herself because she doesn't know her value or her worth? That what makes it a good person, and is that what makes them devalue them so quickly? But you know what are your thoughts, mama?
So getting into the whole idea of good and bad, in my current belief system, I am currently like detoxing myself from those ideas of good and bad. I'm focusing more on things like inauthentic versus authentic. That that's what's important to me. Or I'll divide things into love and fear if I have to just like polarize them. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of the whole good and bad idea, because those things are so subject to each person's opinion and to whatever agreements you have made collectively, and to like what level of consciousness you're using in order to make a decision, right? So I mean, you have your individual, like what you believe within yourself and who you are, and then like we have like the agreements that we've made as far as like black women are concerned. So if we talk about what a black woman thinks is a good woman, even versus what a black man thinks is a good woman, we're all gonna come up with a different answer or whatever, right? So I think more for me is about focusing on, okay, well, what is authentic to me, and then making sure that I'm partnered with somebody who perceives those things that are authentic to me as good or desirable. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to me trying to figure out where under this blanket umbrella of good do I fall, as far as, what makes a good wife or whatever. I mean, for me, if I'm just 100% honest, I don't give a fuck about being no good wife. That's how I was explaining to like my partner. I was like, I have just gotten to the point where, I love her dearly, and this is no disrespect, but I don't even give a fuck what my mama think about me. So caring about what people think about me and how people perceive me is just something that I have worked so hard to move away from. To like, I can't make a decision based on my life. I mean, my in my life based on what somebody else thinks is good or bad, because it's just also subjective, depend on the experiences that somebody had, what a person saw growing up in the household that they grew up in, saw or didn't see. You know what I'm saying? So being more concerned with what is authentic to me and what is truly in line with my desires and will lead to my ultimate fulfillment, as opposed to what is good in this society, is just kind of where I'm at from that. So I know it doesn't answer the questions of what is a good wife. But, oh, okay, here's my direct answer. Being a good wife to me is showing up as my most authentic self with consistency.
Okay, so when you think about yourself now today with the ability to be you and show up as you, when you weren't in that place, would you say it's and and I would venture out and say that there's a vast majority of people that show up on a regular basis to these relationships as how many other people? Like three, four, five, six other people in their life. But how many versions of you did you have to become before you finally realized that I'm tired of being what somebody else wants me to be or what they're projecting their needs to be just to be in a relationship, just to be loved, just to be hugged on, just to be fucked on, just to be kissed on. Like how far did you have to go before you said, "No, I'm done with it."
Well, I wish I could give you like this clean number. I would have to probably say a million. I mean, I truly, honestly feel like, especially at this point in my life, I wake up and I become a different version of myself every single day. I do not approach life the way that I did the day before. So I've gone through many versions of myself. I think the ultimate breakdown that kind of started it was me realizing that all of the people who I had molded myself in order to fit into their idea of perfection when I needed support and when life got real, them motherfuckers was nowhere to be fucking found. And it's like, you do all of this work to be perceived as this, that, and the other for people who, when it comes down to it, wouldn't piss on you if you was on fire. You know what I'm saying? And it's like once I came to that realization that these people don't even really fuck with me like that. Like I'm doing everything to be in their good graces and to be loved and accepted by them and to be treated like family only for not. So I might as well just show up however the fuck I want to because somebody gonna have an issue with it or have a problem with it anyway. So why make me the one who has a problem with who I am? Like show up as who I like, and then if people fuck with it, great, and then if not, great. But it's based on who I really am. I think that was like the second ultimate straw for me, right? Because I had got to a certain points where I wasn't pressed about impressing the church or whatever, right? But when it would come to like my intimate partner, there's definitely still a piece of me that wants to mold myself into a version of me that is acceptable for this person. Even in my last connection where I felt like I wasn't doing that. In hindsight, there were a lot of ways in which like I was just becoming who this person needed. And I mean, in a relationship, there's give and take, there's compromise, and there's gonna be a level of like oneness, right? You come together, you join your words together, and you become one, and you make compromises, and you do grow and learn and change in certain areas, and you do become different, but the intention behind it I think is what makes all of the difference. Like, am I doing this to be loved and accepted by this person, or am I doing this because I love and accept myself and this person? You know what I'm saying? So when I'm moving from the intention of I'm doing this to be loved, I'm in an energy of manipulation and control, and I'm setting myself up for failure because I am pretending to be something I'm not, which in essence blocks love. So that was the second level of me. Is it's like I had to be woken up to the fact that when I am making all of these concessions in order to get love, I'm being counterproductive because who I really am, in essence, is not being loved. And I'm still going to have that same yearning for love when I finish doing all of this. So I had those 2 points where I realized that the people that I was trying to impress ain't gonna like me, fuck with me, really genuinely love me anyway. And then realizing that when I do it from a motivation of trying to be loved, I'm stopping the real authentic love from coming through.
I wonder, like on a regular basis, how many of us show up that way because thinking about how you're groomed from early, childhood, infancy, all the way up until adulthood, you're actually being groomed to fit somebody else's mold in every different setting. Like I remember as a kid, like even though this isn't about intimacy per se, in a way it kind of is, right? I remember my father saying to me, and this was my stepfather. I remember him saying to me like, make sure you use proper language when you speak, right? Like that was he pressed upon me like you must communicate effectively. You must enunciate your words. You must use, for a better lack of terms, make sure you sound white when you talk. Like white was right in that space. Like, and I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, it was very offensive. As a child, as a child, you have this mixed message. As an adult, it's like, well, what did you mean by that? And to assume or make the presumption that articulation only comes in one color was, kind of ludicrous. But as a kid, like I said, that was something that was pressed upon me. Like, as a kid, make sure you dress a certain type of way. Loose women wear their breast out. Loose women wear short skirts. Loose women, promiscuous women wear certain types of clothes. And, if you were a certain size, as the comments are talking about, if you're a certain size, then there's only a small window of clothing that you should be able to wear comfortably, and make sure you cover your whole body up. And, if you're too big, or if or you're, selling your body, all of these things, right? So again, and if you add race into it, if you're African American woman, there's only certain hairstyles. You got to wear your hair straight. You got to have long hair. All these things, or colorism, all of these molds, right? And I remember, like, and even to this day, it's still kind of hard for me to, like, peel back the layers of how much I want to show a person when I'm desiring to be in a relationship, without compromising who I am, so that they don't misperceive who I am, right? Because, at the end of the day, perception is reality. If this person says, "Oh, you're combative because you ask direct questions," well, what's wrong with that? You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with having a person that can communicate and articulate in a way that you can understand what they're saying without having to read between the lines? But that's too much. And now I have to tailor myself here, and, oh, let's make an adjustment here. And again, I think that it goes back to that good woman to land a partner, perfect partner. And the truth of the matter is like, you attract the very thing that you're not trying to attract in your life by not being yourself. And then you get mad when that person is authentically showing up in ways that you don't want to deal with, but you weren't upfront. You didn't say, "No, I don't like this. This isn't what I signed up for." And it's so easy to say, "Oh, well, you lied to me." But when that first lie showed up, what did you do? Did you stick around to see if those lies were going to, like, magically disappear? No, you stayed there and kept, saying it and taking it over and over. So again, that's still adding another layer of authenticity. At what point do you say, "Okay, this is what I'm willing to accept. This is who I am as a human being. Either you like it or you don't," like you said earlier.
Greetings, God is Sharika. That's my friend. That's my sister. Thank you so much for being here. And shout out to everyone else who's in the comments as well. I've been trying to go back through them and sift out the quality comments from all of the other love that we're getting. It's kind of funny. Somebody mentioned listening to David Goggins, and I want to say, excuse me, the other day when I was talking to Eve, I was telling her about this video that I had seen of this lady, and she's saying, I want to say it was a David Goggins guy, to go and like study his formula or whatever, because he has like these three things. If they're in a relationship, it's going to end earlier or whatever. And one of them, and I can't think of the exact word, it may come to me later, but it's basically the belief that you're better than your partner, or your partner is better than you. Like, if y'all don't have that mutual sense of equality between the two of you, the relationship won't last. And I want to hit on that a little bit later, but I wanted to bring it out so that I don't forget. And I also wanted to let y'all know that I'm reading through your comments as well, and the ones that are worthy of a response. That is my intention to do that. So please keep commenting. Please keep interacting with us, and we appreciate you being here. So something that you hit on as well is when you were speaking is the concepts of like sexualizing children or whatever. And I want to talk just a little bit about how that was done in our childhood, the impact that it could have possibly had on us, and then like some solutions, like if this is something that you experienced and need to heal from, as far as like ways that I have begun to heal this energy within myself or whatever. So When I was really young, I have always been like a thicker girl. When I turned 7 is when I kind of started to put on weight or whatever. Like before then, I was always like super duper skinny or whatever. And then for whatever reason, at 7 years old, actually not for whatever reason, I went to like some really traumatic shit at 7 years old, and I kind of just started packing on weight, from there or whatever. And mind you, I really think that I was just gonna be like a naturally big bone girl. If you look at like both sides of my family, it's some curvaceous women in the family or whatever. But anyway, my mother, for the majority of her life until she had me at 30, she was a very slender woman, very slim woman. So she had these ideals in her head about what was appropriate for skinny women versus what was appropriate for bigger women. After she had me or whatever, she began to put on a little weight or whatever. And so she started to see herself in a different light. And to make a long story short, she passed that shame down to me, the discomfort that she had with her own body. She shared that with me, and oh no, you don't put that on. You need to put on a girdle so that the men won't be looking at you in church or whatever, as if the way that I look is the problem, as opposed to these perverted ass men that you bringing me around at this church. You know what I'm saying? And not like you to my mama specifically, but I'm just saying in general in the world, we make the children and what they have on the problem, as opposed to the motherfucking perverts that are having sexual thoughts about children. It doesn't matter what, the child could be butt fucking naked. You shouldn't be looking at them in a sexual manner because they're a child. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing that a child is doing that is bringing that out in somebody else, or no, it's because the person has a motherfucking problem. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it don't have nothing to do with the child or whatever. And so I definitely just wanted to talk about like coming into the realization of the fact that that's what happened in those instances when my mother was telling me that I couldn't wear things, or even talking about other women, right, that we would see out in public. She'd be like, that don't look good on her. Just because they make it in your size don't mean you need to put it on. All those, comments or whatever. And I internalized those things. And so like I said, it became apparent to me that it was just her sharing her shame with me, that maybe she didn't intend to harm me by saying or thinking those things, but it had more to do with the way that she was feeling about herself and her discomfort with the way that she looked. And then instead of being able to kind of dig down to the root of her own issues and her own insecurities and dealing with it within herself, she does what most of us do. We turn it outwards and we, see it in other people and it's worse, and we can point it out and talk about it and belittle it or whatever. And like I said, we don't always realize the impact it's having on the people around us or whatever, that she's now what's the word I want to use, mutating her own DNA to have this shame around body image and size or whatever. And so once I became aware of that, I just started to do some work to build my own self esteem around the way that I look, learning to love my body the way that it is. A lot of that has to do with touch. I do have a ritual that I do every single day when I get out of the shower as I'm lotioning myself. Like, I give thanks to each part of my body and I touch and connect with every single part of my body every single day. As to just invite that love in, that energy of, no matter how this skin is, no matter, how I'm starting to age, no matter as I'm losing weight, how my skin starts to look, like, I love me no matter what, every single inch of me, every single part of my body, and making that a part of my daily ritual to build that muscle within myself, right? Because there were some days when I didn't feel that way. There are even like some days when I wake up now and I don't feel that way, but I still do my ritual in order to honor myself and invite that energy into my space. So that was just like a problem and solution real quick or whatever. And then one more thing, as I was reading through the comments and I was talking about being true to myself and not being willing to conform to what any partner wants in a relationship for me, and wanting to be loved unconditionally and not giving a fuck what anybody thinks about me, including my parents or any. There's nobody in this world that I'm like, oh, their opinion of me is just held in high regard, and I'm gonna just not be able to handle it if they don't like me. I don't give a fuck. Some people say that that's narcissistic, that is a narcissistic trait, and I couldn't disagree with them or whatever. Like, there are narcissist people who have that kind of energy, and it'd be kind of weird, and I'd be like, oh my god, or whatever. And so, like, somebody was like, oh, that's toxic. Come be toxic with me. And in that very male baby perception, I actually recently got called a narcissist because I was expressing that same exact thought, that I don't care, what I'm saying, what people think about me. But I think for me, it's about the balance of, I'm not going around trying to hurt people because I don't care what they think about me or anything like that. It's not an intention of doing anything ill to anyone else. It's just to liberate myself and give myself freedom to do what's best for me and what honors me in any moment with no consideration for how anyone else is going to be impacted as long as I'm not causing harm.
That's a really good way to really kind of tie in that segment because it goes back again. We can take it back to early childhood wounds. We can take it back to body shaming, conformity, or even the whole narrative of being a good girl or even a good guy because we put a lot of emphasis on, being the good girl. But there are some guys who play the nice guy, the best friend, the homeboy, and he's in that space, waiting for the opportunity because the person that they may feel is worth it may not see them in that same light. So again, conforming to a standard of, oh, I'll be your best friend or I'll secretly lust for you or whatever is no different than is no different than being the woman who is, pushing down her wants and desires, her wants and needs, and even herself, the things that she likes to please and to serve someone else. I know that a lot of people, especially religious people, have a belief that because somebody decided to go in and write some shit in the Bible that says that woman is gonna serve man for that's her punishment for dealing with the serpent or whatever the hell you want to believe, that's fine. But I'ma just personally say that you do not have to conform to finding a partner that's gonna love you because what I have found is that people are gonna gravitate to you one way or another. Either you're gonna attract people that really find you dope as hell, or you're gonna find people who want to change you. And the ones who want to change you, the ones who don't really have the courage to change themselves or to become the version of themselves or to even deal with somebody who look like them when they look in the mirror. So um I kind of want to touch on something that we had talked about earlier, which was why do we get mad for them doing them? So, and I see this a lot with some of my clients. I see this in some of the when I do readings, and I even see it in myself. The anger that comes in when that person does them, be it find another partner physically or emotional partner and take it so personal. Like what are your thoughts? Share your I kind of know your thoughts, but I want you to share your thoughts and not only share your thoughts around, you know, the reasons why, but also let's talk about how we can make it better. Like what are some ways and some steps that we can really increase or act on that always list that we talked about. Because if I'm never going to take this behavior again and I have an always statement to substantiate that, I should have an action behind it. And what perfect way to fall into that action other than to dive into the fact that we have to identify that part of us, beating on the door at 3 a.m., like, who in there? Who you with? Going through the phone and the messages. Yes, I'm guilty of that. Like, listening to see who you're on the phone with, looking over the shoulder, like all of those things that we do and have done, calling the other, like, he married, he lived with me, girl. Why you with my dude? And posting subliminals and all of the things that we do after the fact. What can we do to empower ourselves to either set a boundary or shut up and take it if that's what we gonna do?
Okay, so I love the way that you framed this. We had this whole conversation. I just love how you introduced this or whatever. Like right before we got on, I was like, okay, Spirit, which one of these always is or whatever do you really want me to like talk about? Because I'm working through them all of like owning my shit, y'all. And I'm like really like in some like duking it out with myself on some shit of like, yeah, you said this is what you want, sis, but this is how you showing up. So what's up? What you gonna do? Okay, and so the one that stood out to me is the one where I put, my essence. I know that my essence is always enough. You know what I'm saying? I think, kind of the line of conversation this time is about, if a woman checks all of these boxes and does all of these things and she's a perfect partner and her partner still cheats, what does that mean about the woman? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of what it boils down to is what does that woman walk away feeling like it means about her that her partner still chose to cheat. And a lot of us are taught to internalize that, to make it about us, to take it personally and say that there must be something that you did wrong as a wife. If your husband is cheating on you, if you was doing everything that you was supposed to be doing, that he wouldn't be out, like you wasn't emotionally supportive enough for him when he come home for a long day. You didn't suck his dick long enough, or whatever the connotation is, we put it on the woman, like, but to say you haven't heard that, like, women to be like, well, do you give oral sex? You know what I'm saying? Like, as an excuse for why the men can go out and cheat, like, that should be wild or whatever. But what I'm learning, especially in therapy, shout out to my therapist, is that the actions of people don't mean anything about me. And of course, I have read the Four Agreements over and over again. I program my subconscious with it, and it's like I know not to take things personally. But when I'm in the heat of a moment and I'm feeling a big emotion, that is not always like right there with me not to take anything personally. Like, but what I am starting to be able to remember to ask myself is something that I heard my therapist say when I was going through the process. She says, "What does that mean about you?" Right. So I was coming to the realization that me and someone who I disconnected from likely are not gonna rekindle in this lifetime. Like, that was it for this cycle, and we're done. You know what I'm saying? And like coming to like a real acceptance of that. I was like, oh, okay, he not coming back this time. You know what I'm saying? Which is, like, and being cool with that. And she asked me, well, what does that mean about you? And then I really did have to sit with myself and, ask myself, what am I internalizing as a result of this or whatever, right? So to tie it back into what we're talking about, the always statement that I'm examining myself on is my essence is always enough. And if I want my partner to feel that I am enough, I have to first believe that myself. And in order for me to believe that, I have to embody that, right? Um, there are so many times when I have selected a partner with the intention of them feeling specific needs for me, right? Like, I want to feel desired and I want to feel sexy and I like, oh, the way that I feel around him, because when I get him, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like I'm really using this person to meet this need for me to feel a certain way, right? And so whenever I'm feeling low and I want to be around this person, right? Because I'm going after this certain feeling that I get when I'm around them, right? And then I contact them and they're not available, then I'm angry and I'm upset because this person is not available to meet this need for me. That if I'm 100% honest with myself about, I shouldn't have been putting on them anyway. I shouldn't be calling you to feel any kind of way. Like, my emotions and my essence and my energy needs to come from within. That's something that I should have been going within myself for to motherfucking begin with. So for me to get mad at you because you're not available for me to come and pull on you whenever I need to is wild. You know what I'm saying? And I'm treating myself like my essence isn't enough, right? And I think a lot of times for me, when I find myself in arguments in my romantic relationships, it's about me being honest with myself and taking a step back and saying, okay, what need am I trying to basically put off on this person? Where have I made them responsible for something that I should be handling myself? You know, and really being honest about the fact that I am enough for myself. The relationship that I have with myself is my primary relationship. It's the only relationship that I'm going to always be in. And that I have always been. I'm the only person that's always been there. You know what I'm saying? That ties back to what I was saying about not caring what people think about me. It doesn't matter what somebody thinks about me because the only person been with me for the past 40 years is me. I'm the only one who can have a valid opinion about me because I have all of the relevant information. Everybody else is grasping for straws and taking out bits and pieces and has no idea what my options are, so they couldn't even judge my choices. You know what I'm saying? And so going back to, though, how am I validating myself and feeling like my own essence is enough? And in the times when I'm getting upset with other people, where can I ask myself, okay, this person is having this action and I'm feeling a big emotion about it, but what does this person's action actually say about me? Generally, it says nothing about me and it has everything to do with them. And whatever it is that I'm perceiving that it says about me is a revelation about an underlying need that I have that I need to resolve myself.
I really like what you said, my essence is enough. You hit on a couple of points that I want to share, but before I do, I want to stay where you are, which was the big emotion. So we talk about, the wound, or we'll talk about the symptom, right? The symptom is I'm offended over the fact that I'm a good woman and this person ain't treating me right. Or I'm offended over the fact that I'm a good friend or a good guy and this person is not acknowledging me, right? So it sends me a big emotion, and that big emotion could be anger, jealousy, frustration. It could be self loathing. It could be self sabotage. It could be a plethora of things, right? But the first way for us to really break down how to heal this part of ourselves, or to connect. I'm not going to even say the word heal, cuz to heal would denote that it is actually sick, but it's not. It's not sick, it's a teacher. And if you allow that teacher to educate you, you can really past really push past that space. So, a big emotion is just the surface, and underneath it is really the cause, or what's impacting the causal body. Where can it be found is a really good question to start. Where can it be found? Because it might present as anger, it might present as rage, it might present as fear. But when you're checking somebody's phone in the middle of the night, when they're asleep, or listening to their voicemails behind their back, what is it that's really showing up? What is really the cause? What's happening in the causal body, the physical body? Am I sad? Am I scared? If I'm scared, what am I scared of? Am I scared of losing this person? Am I living in scarcity because I feel like I can't find another person or attract another person? That this is the only opportunity or option that I have, and if I don't keep this option and possess this option, then I'm gonna be stuck, or I'm gonna be without, or I won't have enough, right? And if you take that back a little bit further, you can say, okay, well, when I was a kid, I had a craving or a desire for more hugs, more kisses, but both of my parents worked, or my mom wasn't there, or my dad wasn't there, whatever. And so, because I have this lack or scarcity, and this person offered this to me, I now believe that it's my responsibility to only get it from this place. But it's like going to the grocery store, and that grocery store being out of bottles of water. And when you get there, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be thirsty. I'm going to die of dehydration because this store doesn't have any water. When I can go across the street to this other store and there's water there. Now, it may not be my favorite brand, but it does offer me something. Or maybe this is a more expensive brand, and maybe I don't believe that I can afford the cost of this expensive brand. But what can I do different? So, again, that big emotion has a place. So, where is it found? What is it? Where is it found in the body? And then you can trace that back to the root. And that root will really be that emotion that's really underneath it all. I'm afraid that again, I'm in a scarcity mindset, and it's presenting as rage because I don't want to ever be without this again. It took me so long to get it. I don't ever want to lose it. Um, and then the other thing that you were saying was getting to a place where you really understand that who cares. I would love to say that I believe a part of you is not so much who cares, but also understanding that we are connected anyway. So if you saying it about me, really you saying it about you, which is still us. So it doesn't matter. At some point, you're creating this energy back. So now that we kind of got that out the way, um,
Real quick, if I can, while you piecing together your next, I wanted to first of all that water analogy that shit is so dope. Because look though, cause look like here I am at the grocery store, right, at the neighborhood Walmart, the closest most convenient one to me, having a full out anxiety attack, just fit about the fact that they don't have no water. Whole time at the house, within myself, I got a whole faucet and a Brita filter. Like I never even had to go outside of me to get the goddamn water, but here I am, pressed about it. Not only could I go to a different store, you know what I'm saying? If I really just need to go to a different store, it's water somewhere, but I have water at the house. That always has a never ending I can turn it on and water is just gonna run out 24 fucking 7 if that's what I want. But here I am at the store crying because they don't have the water that I wanted. Make it make sense. So I really love that analogy or whatever. That's really really potent what you said, and I don't know if you have your thoughts together yet, but I also wanted to talk about what you were saying about those big emotions basically being what I would call like a core material, right? Like it's a piece of wood. It could be whatever. You can take that emotion and turn it into whatever you want it to, but a lot of times we choose to take those emotions and turn them into suffering. Whole time they just came to teach us a lesson or to bring us more joy and more happiness, but that's just not what we chose to do with those raw materials. So when we're having those big emotions, to be able to remind ourselves that there's a pathway to work through this emotion that ends in happiness as opposed to the suffering pathway that I normally take when I'm feeling this emotion.
And even once I finish feeling this emotion, now I can share that information with somebody else because perhaps my partner never had somebody in their life that knew how to work through their emotions. And now I'm teaching them or helping them or guiding them to emotional intelligence. And that just fosters more and more intelligence within your connections. Then you learn how to speak to your children, you learn how to speak to your parents. You get to understand and you set the type of boundaries that actually protect you from being that person that is hurt or wounded or victimized by whatever you want to call that person when they're no longer serving you the way you wanted them to. And it's so interesting because that we I know we were just talking about it, but how quick we are to villainize the other person. And then after some time passes, we typically forget, oh, well, if they were such a villain, you never ever go back to having fond feelings about that person because you really did some effed up shit. I don't need that, right? What you want to say? Go ahead, come on. But again, getting into that place where you can actually look at what you also did in that connection. Because again, it's two people constantly having something, and even in the moments where you feel like you're justified or you're right or you didn't do anything wrong, the moment you allowed yourself to not be honored, you did something wrong. And maybe that's the whole lesson as a whole. It's not so much that this person did all these things to you, it's the fact that, you know what, I'm not honoring me, not honoring me. So um I guess we got time for a little bit more. When you are on, it says when you on your own. Well, I'm trying to read my writing. I don't know what I wrote. Oh, not me having a conversation with my inner self. Ha ha. So you were talking. Okay, so you were talking about my essence is enough, right? And then I was talking about like I had my notes were when you're on your own. It really does reveal the truth of your relationships because most of the time, like when you're in that connection right away, close up, you really don't see how to resolve a lot of things, right? And so it's like I'm always arguing with this person, giving them all of my feedback, but I'm never really spending that time, which is kind of what we were just talking about, spending that time digesting where I'm at and what I'm sending out. And it's interesting because most of the time the projecting energies come from really deep on the inside. But even in that confession or that affirmation that my essence is enough, it actually gives you the space to walk in your own authenticity. And what typically happens is either you give that person permission or they run, they dip out because either they can't handle it that are peeled together or to groom what else I can't remember. I knew you was gonna remember. But that's what we have to do. We really we get an opportunity to really connect all of the dots and pull things back, pull these layers back, and really move in the best direction. So we talked about how can I did we talk about how can I care for myself in these spaces?
Yeah, a little bit. We hit on it while you over there getting your list together a little bit more. It was something else that you had said earlier that I wanted to hit on. You was talking about the Adam and Eve story, right? Like the creation story. And so I love being liberated from like a rigid Christian perspective because it allows me to look at the Bible in a million different ways and see so many different things that I was not able to see when I was in a religious mindset or whatever, right? And so this whole idea around part of the curse being that women will desire men, it just has this new profound meaning to me after what I kind of been learning with some of the gene keys, human design and stuff, right? So gate 28, I have the full 3828 channel from my root to my spleen in my human design. And gate 28, um, the shadow of gate 28 is addiction, right? And in the explanation that the Gene Keys book gives, it says that the root of addiction is desire, right? Like there's a desire, like a longing within you or whatever, right? And then it explains that the root of all desire is a desire for being back connected to the one or to oneness or to your soul, back to your origin, back to source, the creator, right? And ultimately, any desire that we have is based on that ultimate desire. It can be traced back to that, right? And that just opened up so many different pathways for me as far as like understanding the intentions behind why people do certain things, right? So for me, it was just unfathomable to cheat. It just that has just never been like a thing that, why not just be honest with the person and let them know how you feeling, or that, what I'm saying, you want to explore with somebody else. Why wouldn't you give them, an opportunity? Like, it just never made sense to me. But ultimately, if your intention for going out and sleeping with other people is to feel some desire that's within you, that you initially came to me for me to feel this desire, right? And like for a little while, I was starting to but then ultimately, I can't feel your desire that you have for God. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that you have to feel within yourself. I might distract you from it for a little while because, I'm a goddess in my own right. You know what I'm saying? Being connected to me is going to make you feel like you connected back to God, right? You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, if you don't have that sense within yourself of connection to source, you're going to always be chasing after feeling some sort of desire or whatever. And like with me having that gate, I've had my own struggles with addiction or whatever. And so I also attract people who are in addictive cycles and patterns or whatever. Like I'm still battling my addiction with food. Like people think that it's a joke, but food is one of the most difficult addictions to battle with because you can't just stop eating. You know what I'm saying? I bet you still gotta eat. So it's just like being able to balance that and make sure that I'm eating from a place of nourishing myself instead of just the pleasure of eating food, right? And I'm a Taurus too, like, what I'm saying? I love the food, but understanding that ultimately when I'm having those desires, when I'm having those cravings, it's probably something spiritual going on with me that I could address, from within. Like if I'm checking in with my body and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, I can say, okay, are you really hungry or are you longing for something else? Is there some other space that you're trying to fill? Have you consciously, since you got up and did your morning ritual, have you consciously connected with spirit? Maybe there's a message that's available and waiting for you, and something within you that's wanting to tap into your true self in this moment. Why don't you try that first? And if that don't work, I take my son's advice. He's like, just drink some water. You probably just thirsty. You know what I'm saying? So I drink some water. And then if I still just gotta eat something, I make a choice, you know what I'm saying, that benefits me. But I said all of that to say, in the Adam and Eve story, where it talks about the woman's curse being that she would desire a man, it just tied it back and made so much more sense to me that the curse of having that knowledge and that awareness of the truth that we there is this illusion that we are separate from God, that we are participating in, and that will cause us to have a desire for something outside of us to feel something that's missing within. So I just understood that on a different level. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of dope or whatever. And I hope that that connected for y'all because I did go all around Robin Hood's farm. But I trust that you understand.
That was really good, actually. I really liked it. Hold on one sec. Okay, can you hear me okay? All right.
Oh, one more. I'm sorry. And then you're going to close the show out. This is the last thing that I have to say. Because when you were talking about basically when you were looking at your old partnerships and seeing like in all the ways that you're pointing your finger out to them, you were also responsible in some area, right? So when I found myself in that energy of I can't believe this motherfucker did me this way, because we all get there sometimes. We be mad or wanting to be mad about something outside of us. You know what I'm saying? I asked myself, okay, where did this person have to extend me grace? You know what I'm saying? Like, um, I have a friend who confessed like the real reason why she got into a relationship, and it kind of like to me made me feel like you can't never be bad about nothing that this nigga did in this relationship if that is the reason why you got into this relationship. Like if that was your intention for getting into this relationship, and on some level, whether it be consciously or unconsciously, that man knew that. You can't be mad about the way that he responded to your intention. You know what I'm saying? And so I had to hold myself to that same candle of like every time that I'm getting upset about the way that things ended with a lover. Okay, sis, what did you get into this relationship for? And it's like, and if this person that you with, even like I said, if it's on a subconscious level, had knowledge of your true intention, you probably deserved every all of that bullshit that he did to you because you didn't even have the right intentions going into this. Like you didn't even check yourself. Okay, that's my last thing.
If I didn't know any better. But like the four agreements said, we ain't gonna make no assumptions. We ain't gonna take it personal. We ain't gonna do that. But I hope your friend really understood if that was her only intention why things played out the way they did. Oh my god. Um, it's interesting though because side note, I was listening to Dolores Cannon the other day, and one of the things that she was talking about was the many lifetimes that we lived and that we currently live concurrently, of course, because there's only the now, right? And even in that space, like we, in order for us to really experience everything, which is what Source is doing, we are experiencing each and every one of these, right? So in that moment when that friend had the intention, right? She was also on both ends of the spectrum at the same time. So she was also him experiencing wanting to be with other people, not having the confidence or the courage to be truthful, fearful of religious background backlash, fearful of their own self-loathing, not feeling worthy enough, all of those things she was also experiencing at the same time as him and as her, as he was experiencing her as him at the same damn time. And maybe they both were conscious of it, unconscious of it, because those can run concurrently. But what's interesting is that you can really it's in that moment that you realize, okay, I had an ill intention, a sick intention. It was not of a place of love, but from fear. And perhaps on some plane, I was also the initiator of this experience. Like I said, I'm pretty sure in a couple of lifetimes, I was definitely not feminine, female at that. And it's probably why I have a hard time trying to figure out how to dress and coordinate shit together. And he does it so damn well. Like when I flip that switch, it makes perfect sense. But with all that being said, we could really release ourselves from the karma when we recognize that we are the lesson at the same time and the wound. And the people that perpetuated the crime against humanity, which was us in that moment, if we really look at it from a place of love, and maybe that's how we'll end up closing it out tonight. When we look at things from a place of love and act with intention from a place of love, once you become aware, you can change that trajectory at any given time, right? So, this partner was unfaithful to a person who felt like they needed to be served because they felt superior to them. ironically and inferior to everybody else in a lot of ways, right? Especially when you haven't learned to really accept that you are one with everything and everybody. And so if I can apply the love and I don't know how to love myself, I can use the meta prayer. I can participate, not use, because even the prayer itself is a consciousness. I can participate in the prayer and send that healing energy over and over and over. Like I'm sending to the last dragon who just wants a little bit of attention. And I understand because I've been there and I appreciate it. Or anyone else who's been here and again participated, like ultimately, like you said, the teachings of God being outside of us by almost every religion is the reason why we're constantly looking for something from to fill us up on the inside. And if we actually take the time to act from a place of love with every single person that we deal with, then at some point we really do shift, not only for us but for the earth and every person and every being and soul participating in this on this planet at the same time. So I guess when we pick back up in our next session, we can talk about you know how far do we want to go in holding on to things that are past their expiration date. Now, how far should we go? And do you really believe that it's impossible to have people who are faithful? Because you mentioned that, and I think that's a lovely topic. No?
That's not what I said. But yes, we can talk about my belief systems around monogamy and the true capacity of humans to only sleep with one person for their entire existence, or to only desire to sleep with one person for their entire existence. So, yes, we can talk about that.
All right. I love it. I love you. I am grateful for this space. For everybody who participated tonight, I am extremely
Extremely.
grateful. Thank you for being here. You can catch us on our socials. You can click the link in my bio. Follow me on TikTok. I'll be back doing lives on after retrograde. After retrograde.
Yeah, that was my thing. I am doing. I guess you could say this whole social media break thing, and I know people who are on my social media can't tell that I'm on break. I schedule, some stuff out to come out or whatever. So while I'm on break and on Facebook, I'm definitely still taking care of my inner child healing and parenting group. That's my little baby that I love so much. If you're interested and having a closer connection with either of us, definitely come into that group. That's where I'm sharing my heart and where I'm doing like my ministry of love right now. I love that space so much and what it's gonna become and what it's gonna be. My inner child healing. That's like my judge or whatever. So definitely check out the group. Come fuck with me on Facebook, TikTok. I don't really keep up my Instas that much, but it's some good content on my Instagram. If you're an Instagram person, there is good content there for you to engage with as well. Definitely check out the rest of the videos on this YouTube. If you haven't watched this entire series, start from episode 1. If you think the gems that we dropped today was good, that episode 2, episode 3, I was editing those to get clips. Them hoes is hidden, you know what I'm saying? So definitely check out the wisdom in the other episodes if you haven't already watched the other episodes. We are here as inspired. I would love to be here every second and fourth Sunday at 7 p.m. I'm not set up like that though. That's not, the way that I'm designed in this particular experience. I chose a personality and a time to enter into this space where I'm not fucking with the monochromatic time. I might be here 2 Sundays from now. I might be here tomorrow on live. So I suggest that you subscribe to our YouTube so you get notifications because we will be here as inspired. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully we'll get inspired every Sunday. Shit, maybe we won't. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where we're at. But definitely connect with us. Stay connected. We love you very much. My website, Eve's website, is tagged in the description of this video, and that will take you to all the other places where we are as well. I love you very much. You are perfect the way that you are, and I hope that you operate in authenticity as you go into this next week so that you open up the door for true love to meet you. Bye. See you next time.